Good evening. This is CTV News for Thursday, July 13th. I'm Rochelle Metzger.
And I'm Byron Scott. Glad to have you with us tonight. Well, a grand jury has indicted a University of Maryland student for murder.
This is the latest in a case that caused outrage on campus and in the community. Sean Urbanski allegedly stabbed Richard Collins III back in May.
Denise Douglas has just returned from the courthouse and joins us now. Denise, is this being classified as a hate crime?
Not at this point. The motive has to be justified in order for them to decide whether or not. And at this point, all we know is that Sean Urbanski has been charged with murder. As you may remember, it was after a night of celebrating for Richard Collins III that he was killed. He had just been commissioned as a second lieutenant in the Army and was set to graduate from Bowie State University. The 23-year-old and his friends were waiting at a bus stop on the University of Maryland's campus when Urbanski began yelling at them to get out of the way. Soon after, according to witnesses, he stabbed Collins. After the incident, a memorial was set up on the campus in honor of Collins. Today, State's Attorney Angela Alsobrooks talked about what might be next in terms of ramping up the charge to a hate crime.
There's quite a bit of evidence to go through. We have multiple digital devices, and so it is difficult at this point to say what the evidence has uncovered. But what we know is that the defendant was in possession of multiple digital devices that will take time for the FBI to analyze, and we will make an assessment after we've had an opportunity to consider all of the digital evidence in the case.
Urbanski, who is 22 years old, had no previous criminal record before the incident back in May.
So this is going to be continuing?
Absolutely, absolutely. And we were talking a little bit at the press conference, and his attorney there have been reports that he might actually use a defense of alcohol or drugs or something of that nature, but we'll have to see how things pan out as we get closer to the trial.
All right, thanks, Denise.
All right, thank you. Well, the decision by the General Services Administration to scrap plans to build a new FBI headquarters is not sitting well with some local lawmakers. Maryland's congressional delegation is hoping to revive the project. In the meantime, the city of Greenbelt is left in limbo. The Greenbelt Metro Station was one of the 3 final sites identified for the FBI's new home. Mayor Emmett Jordan says now he is sitting on prime property with an uncertain future.
We're disappointed, that this announcement and the decision has been made to, pull back on the project. For us in Greenbelt, for the state of Maryland, Prince George's County, for people in the development community, for the GSA to kind of go through this long process over the past 5 years, we put a tremendous amount of resources, time, and effort, into trying to work with them to provide a home for the FBI. Greenbelt is 11,000 jobs, but because of the site in Greenbelt, it's right at the metro station, in walking distance to the metro station. So it's not so much the federal jobs that we were looking for, because certainly, Greenbelters would have some of those jobs, but it's more the ancillary services. We have office space, restaurants, service industries that would actually support the facility would be very important to us.
And the mayor says after years of planning for the GSA to pull out now is a waste of public resources.
If you've been outside, you can feel it. This heat and humidity can make the workday feel a lot longer, particularly for those people who work outside. There's a weather alert today with temperatures above 100 degrees. The advisory means that anyone outside for an extended period of time is at risk for heat-related illness. CTV spoke to a utility worker who says he came to the job prepared.
It's already early, man, and it's hot. It's hot already. Got my water right here. Staying ready, man. I'm sitting out here for like an hour though, not doing nothing. But when the work starts, I'm gonna start sweating.
Here's a few tips for staying cool in this heat. Drink plenty of water throughout the day. Avoid exposure to direct sunlight and stay in shaded areas when outdoors if possible. And with that heat advisory in effect, AAA Mid-Atlantic is reminding drivers to stay alert. The Auto Club says it's expecting more car breakdowns and service calls due to the extreme heat. AAA says the most expensive vehicle problems include repairing and replacing a blown motor, a blown head gasket, or an air conditioning unit. Drivers are reminded to watch their temperature gauge for overheating. And you're watching CTV News. I'm Rochelle Metzger.
And I'm Byron Scott.